I watched a boxing match on television, on the Netflix. Tyson versus Paul, or Paul versus Tyson. I sat down for 3 hours and I watched boxing, something I would normally never do. It was hyped as the most exciting, important fight ever, and it was a gross disappointment. It was watching Mike Tyson back in the ring was like watching Joe Biden in the presidential debate. It was elder abuse. As someone noted, he needed an Uber to get back to his stool during the break between bouts. They were wearing marshmallows as gloves. The rounds were only 2 minutes long, and it most certainly did not meet the hype. Jake Paul, a winner, this arrogant young YouTuber who does seem like he's got in shape and he can throw a punch. He wins on a points decision. I think Tyson only landed 16 punches, and it was all over, and I can't help feeling that I'd been had. Had I been had? I thought about who I could talk to about this. I didn't want anyone as expert on boxing because it wasn't about the boxing. I needed someone to know who knows how the game works, how to promote a fight, and how the hype works. And there is no one better in New Zealand to talk to about that than a guy called Dave Higgins. And Dave, I'd say, is our only true homegrown boxing impresario. He's the Don King of New Zealand, and he joins us on the line now. Higgy, how are you, mate?
Good morning, Sean. Good to be on the show.
Lovely to have you. First up, did you watch?
I didn't want to, and in your preamble, yes, you were had, along with 2 billion other people.
2 billion. I wasn't alone.
I was horrified by the whole thing. First of all, it was never a boxing contest. A boxing contest is a fairly evenly matched contest between 2 professional athletes, who want to become world champion. That's not what that was. That was always, and I have to be careful what I say here, but honest opinion is a defence against defamation. That was always scripted entertainment, in my opinion, more like WWE wrestling. It was all about the money. And the reason, and it's not, and I was horrified that it conned so many people. I mean, first of all, Mike, you had what's verging on an elderly drug addict, I'll again being careful. Tyson's been pretty open about his daily use of marijuana and magic mushrooms and other substances for the last 20 years.
Yeah,
and he's about 60 years old. So you may as well go, pick anyone off the street to fight who's 60.
Yeah.
But for some reason, people had it in their head that it was the same Mike Tyson that was fighting
and that's
in the 1980s.
how I got hooked into the idea that an old guy, I'm 60, Dave, that he could do it, that he was so mean in his heyday that he could regain that sort of form and teach this young millennial whippersnapper a lesson.
Well, let's break it down. First of all, Tyson stormed through opponents in the 80s, knocking them out one after another. But the opponents weren't that good. When he was knocking them all out, it was sort of bum of the month. They called him tomato cans in the business. Then he went to jail. Then when he got out of jail, he fought some good opponents like Evander Holyfield, who beat him.
Yeah.
And then he had, roughly 7 or 10 losses at the end of his career. And he wasn't that big a heavyweight. And the big heavyweights can hold their power. So a 60-year-old Mike Tyson, who's been smoking marijuana every day for 20 years, was never going to be a force. Now, so the second thing is that Jake Paul's a bit of a business genius, because I'd say my guess would be Paul was the promoter behind the promotion.
Yeah.
And if I was Jake Paul, I would have done a deal with Netflix saying, I want a cut of every, because Netflix will have signed up annual subscribers, not just for a month, for a whole year, and probably millions of them globally. And so if I was Paul, I would have said to Netflix, I want X amount cut of every new subscriber over the coming year. Wouldn't surprise me if Jake Paul made $500 million off that thing. Now, the next point is there are laws around sport and boxing in Texas where the fight was held, where you as a promoter, it's criminal negligence to put someone elderly and infirm in with a young whippersnapper, because Paul does have a big punch. Paul could have killed Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
So, if he did, someone goes to jail. So again, honest opinion, I'd say Paul's contract would have been thick and would have said that he's not allowed to hurt Mike Tyson. And it wouldn't surprise me if they did a rehearsal, and so people were asking me, how's it going to go? I said, it's going to be a soft slapping match that goes for about the full 8 rounds.
Yeah.
And again, I'm surmising here. It wouldn't surprise me if, they offered Mike Tyson 20 million or something as guaranteed.
Yeah, one got the feeling he was doing the money. Can I be honest? When he walked out down the thing, I looked at his eyes and I thought, is he stoned or out of it or scared? There was something really weird about Tyson's eyes when he walked out to the ring.
Well, it's not normal for a 60-year-old to jump in the ring with a 30-year-old in front of 2 billion people on television. I mean, our eyes would probably be the same if it was us. But the thing is, it wouldn't surprise me if they offered Tyson double to lose, or to sort of play the game. And again, this stuff could be considered defamatory, but it's my honest opinion.
But he couldn't even move, Dave. He was shuffling like it was worse than Joe Biden.
Why are you surprised? What did you?
Because I'm 60 and I still have this delusion that I'm the same man I was when I was 30 or 35 or even 40, and I wanted to believe, Dave.
It was WWE scripted entertainment on steroids. And some people made Netflix. I was actually surprised Netflix were willing to screen it because, Disney, these big corporations these days have some, corporate responsibility in their governance and stuff. And, I don't know who is, the likes of Disney, those corporations. I was surprised Netflix was willing to put that trash on their network.
Wow.
And there's so many disappointed people.
Well, I feel good, Dave, that I didn't pay per view for it. It was just part of my Netflix subscription. So I guess financially, where to next for Jake Paul then? Does he have a path towards a genuine world championship or not?
No. If Paul got in the ring with a proper heavyweight boxer like Joseph Parker, he'd be rinsed. And Paul is carefully selecting opponents that aren't. He went from
would Joseph call Jake Paul out?
No, well, it would make money, but Joseph wants to win the world title. He doesn't want to fight silly pantomime things. Paul's opponents have been reality TV stars, and then an elderly guy, Mike Tyson. He hasn't actually fought a proper boxer.
I'd love to see Jake Paul take on the bloke from Algeria. Wouldn't that be good?
Well, I think you would like to think the public wouldn't be conned again, but they
will, though. Dave, you've been in the boxing game long enough.
Mike Tyson won't be fighting again, I'll tell you that.
But he probably doesn't need to now. He's probably got 20 million that'll keep him in magic mushrooms and marijuana for the rest of his life. Yeah,
probably. And Paul will probably find Paul will fight again, and yet people will get conned again, I guess.
What about the undercards? What about that women's match? That was bloody brutal.
I didn't watch. I tried not to watch it, and then someone, because it was so distasteful. But someone grabbed me into to watch some of the main event, and it went exactly as I thought it would.
Yeah. Look. The other thing. They were trying to paint it as Netflix is getting into the live sport and the boxing game. Are they or not?
Well, yeah, I'd say yes. I'd say Netflix made a fortune out of it. And when I say a fortune, not just like a pay-per-view buy. If it was pay-per-view, might have made Netflix $30 a customer. But Netflix will have signed up people for 1 year, 2, 3 years. Netflix might have made $1 billion out of that once you amortize it over the next 3 years of all the additional subscribers. So I'd say Netflix will double down in the interests of profit and start running more and more of that sort of thing. And to be fair, they might start running proper boxing too, rather than just that rubbish. Yeah,
so it was rubbish. I did get conned. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'll chalk that one up to experience. And Dave, next time something like that comes up, I'm going to ring you and say, is this worth it or is this BS?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, you're welcome.
Should have interviewed you last week. Sorry, buddy.
All good. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, David. Dave Higgins. I think New Zealand's only genuine bona fide boxing impresario. He's our Don King. And he says, yep,